Ladies and gents, boys and girls, welcome. Monday, June the 12th, 2023. Hope you're all doing well. Of course, as always, I'm Chris Phillips, your host of the Daily Crow of the Spurs Up Show. And we've got a lot to dive into here on this Monday as we begin yet another week. I see John Edward, GA, Travi, Xavier. What's going on? Also, those in the Big Cock Club Discord, however, the TDC Questions channel, the TDC Questions channel, be sure your questions are answered there. And if you were in the Big Cock Club Discord, you would know that it's already been a very eventful Monday. More on that in the coming weeks. But guys, again, thank you all so much for tuning in. You know, it's crazy. I was getting ready for the show today, and I'm always picking out an outfit, whatever, what shirt to wear, what piece of merch, what have you. And I threw on, for those of you tuning in on YouTube, you can see, the Beamer Rattler 22 t-shirt. This is the first time that I've worn a piece of, or that I've worn any of the Beamer Rattler 22 merchandise since the end of the football season, because I'm like, all right, it's 2023, time to turn the page, what have you. Let's get on this Beamer Rattler 2023 merch, which be sure, guys, to go check that out and cop the merch over at tsus.store. But it's interesting. I'm like, you know, this is a vintage piece now, or this is going to be, you know, a couple years from now, going to really truly be a vintage piece. And thank goodness for the final 2 weeks of the regular season, because if not for that, it'd probably be either the most popular yard work shirt in the state of South Carolina, or it would have been the most popular shirt at Goodwill. So thankfully, the final 2 weeks of the regular season in 2022, because what Spencer Rattler did and those wins over Tennessee and Clemson obviously salvaged this merchandise for us all. But guys, again, thank you all so much for tuning in. Appreciate each and every single one of you. And I'm always grateful for the fact that you guys roll with the punches. You just rock and roll with whatever we're doing. TDC is rocking as normal this week, except for today. As you might recall, last week, our good friend Mark Rogers, I totally forgot that he was out of town. And so he is actually out of town today as well. We'll return next week. So we do not have Mark Rogers on the show. And because of that, instead of going noon to 3, we will go noon to 2 today. So a traditional TDC today where I'll talk my topics in the first hour. And then after that, around 12:45, 12:50 or so, we will go ahead and jump into our Q&A power hour, and we will run until 2 o'clock. So if you guys want to go ahead and get your questions in, 843-790-3377, you can leave us a voicemail. You can text us, whatever you want to do. Also on YouTube, you can leave your comments there. Or if you just want to wait until the second hour today and call in, because I'm sure you guys have plenty of thoughts, of commentary, of reactions to everything that happened over the weekend. Would love to hear from each and every single one of you. Guys, again, with the baseball season now over, we do have some baseball topics again to discuss today and tomorrow. I'll give you kind of an idea. Of course, I've got some things I want to touch on today. Tomorrow, we'll dive into our postseason report card and our postseason award show. We might even tomorrow get into top 5 best moments of the Gamecocks 2023 baseball season. And after that, really, guys, unless there's news that drops, and I see John Edward asking, where is football? When is football? We are 82 days away. And as you all know, guys, we have our top 5 series, and it's never too early to start previewing the upcoming season. That's exactly what we will start doing really on Wednesday. You know, we'll be in our top 5 series, and of course, other news dropping. I'm sure we're in the middle of June. It is Beamer Ball month, recruiting month. I'm sure we've got some welcome homes down the pipeline to talk about, but things obviously this time of year, now that South Carolina baseball is eliminated, do slow down a little bit. But the content, of course, guys, will continue to bleed out of the eyeballs. So again, I want to say and start off saying thank you all so much for the continued love and support. Thank you so much to those who came out to Carolina Ale House on Woodruff Road in Greenville, South Carolina. We had an absolute blast. Thank you all again so much, those who attended and all those who showed up across the great state of South Carolina to Carolina Ale House. And just stay tuned, guys. Our summer tour is still in the works in regards to the dates for that, when it'll start, when it'll finish, all that good stuff. We'll be doing that, I would expect, end of July and all through the month of August. So going to be a lot of fun, guys. We did that last year, of course. We had the spring tour. It's been a massive success both times that we have run up the Carolina Ale House tours. So looking forward to the summer tour, the preseason tour, if you will, as we get you ready for kickoff and venture to each of the Carolina Ale House locations and meet and greet and talk with you guys and fling some merch and talk some ball. And again, it's always a really, really good time. With that being said, let's go ahead and dive into things, guys. Of course, we had the Rowdy Rooster Rundown last night, which, in case you missed it, the final Rowdy Rooster Rundown until football season takes place. Because, of course, the format of that show and the way that it's set up, it's made for, a Sunday night live stream, raw reaction, everything that happened over the weekend, a game, events, etc. And now we have none of that until the weekend of September the 2nd, which is absolutely crazy to think about. I mean, it's absolutely crazy to think about that we don't have a South Carolina sporting event until September the 2nd. So with that being said, Rowdy Rooster Rundown will be no more until that point. But as I mentioned, it's content bleeding out of the eyeballs. And as we sit here on this Monday, the Gamecocks 2023 season has officially come to an end as Carolina falls to Florida in the Gainesville Super Regional. The question immediately turns to this. While it was a great season, 42-21 overall, 16-13 in SEC play, you won a game in Hoover. Most importantly, you were Columbia Regional champions, and you were just 2 wins away from Omaha, Nebraska, which is this program's ultimate goal. But unfortunately, once again, you come up short. And the drought continues for South Carolina baseball. It's been since 2012. That is the last time the Gamecocks graced or made an appearance in the College World Series. And so the question, guys, now turns to this. What held the Gamecocks back from being an Omaha club this season? And what do they need to fix? What pieces do they need to add? What needs to change in order for South Carolina to take that next step? I think there are a couple of things. And guys, I've already said my piece on the late season collapse, if you will. I've already said my piece on the struggles down the stretch. We all understand how that impacted the overall chances of South Carolina making it to Omaha. But I think there are a few things. I've got a list here, a few things that I think South Carolina, that you can look back on this season and say, if they just had this, or if they just had that, the end result might have been and probably would have been different. So when I look at South Carolina, the first thing, guys, that I think it's very easy to see that the Gamecocks did not have this season and that they must find a way to add going into 2024 if they're going to make a real push in Omaha, is a true dominant ace on the mound. I mean, guys, when you think about it, the fact that South Carolina made it to the Super Regionals without Noah Hall for 90% of the season, without Will Sanders really ever at any point being the dominant version of himself that we had seen in the past. The fact that 2 of 3 of your weekend rotation guys, it almost felt like they were non-existent for most of the season. And one of them obviously was with injury. Like the fact you made it to the Supers with that being a reality, having to move up your number 3 guy, Jack Mahoney, the number 2 spot, having to ask someone that was not originally in that weekend rotation to pitch in the 3 spot, having to ask someone that, hey, wasn't in the weekend rotation for quite a while, guys like Eli Jones, James Hicks, to pitch in the number 1 spot. The fact you had to do that and you were able to do it successfully and overcome the adversity that was Noah Hall's injury, overcome the adversity that was Will Sanders just flat out not being very good, and still make it to the Super Regionals. That's impressive. But South Carolina baseball, guys, is missing that true dominant ace. They don't have a Paul Skeens right now. Look at Florida over the weekend. They don't have a Brandon Sproat. They don't have a Hurston Waldrop. They don't have that signature ace that carried them to the promised land back in 2010, 11, and 12. You know, Blake Cooper was that guy. Michael Roth was that guy. They had those dudes. Every team that goes to the College World Series has that frontline starter, that bona fide ace. And you know why they have that, guys? Because you know what? To get to Omaha, you have to have that guy. Even Wake Forest, who is nicknamed Rake Forest because they're all about swinging the sticks. Hell, they hit 9 home runs in their clinching game against Alabama. But guys, they've got one of the best starting pitchers in the country. And I know everybody with South Carolina, they want to talk about the hitting. And I'm going to get there. Trust me, the hitting inconsistencies. But when it comes to the postseason, and it comes to a super regional, and you're in Gainesville, and hey, your offense throws up a 4 spot in game 1, you got to find a way to win that ball game. And in the SEC, guys, we see it time and time again. Game 1s, Friday nights in the SEC, most of the time, you got to find a way to win 3-2. You got to find a way to win 2-1. Sometimes you got to find a way to win 1-0. Like, you have to have that guy that you can turn the baseball over to and feel confident each and every single game, each and every single week. Game 1 is ours because we got that guy on the mound. Will Sanders this year went 4-4 with a 5.46 ERA. That ain't good enough. That's just not good enough, man. South Carolina had a lot of capable pitchers on their roster this year. They had a lot of capable guys pitch on the weekend. There were some great performances, but you did not have that shutdown big-time ace. And it's unfortunate that Eli Jerzenbeck is sidelined due to injury for, I would assume, the entire 2024 season. Because Tommy John, typically a year recovery, and we'll see. Maybe he can go the second half of the season. I have no idea. I'm not a doctor. I don't know exactly the full details of his injury. I know that Jack Mahoney was obviously sidelined for an extended period of time. But I think you look at a guy like Eli Jerzenbeck, he's got that stuff. And you got to find a guy with the stuff too, guys. I'm not just talking about, like, look at the guys at Florida. Brandon Sproat's touching 100. Hurston Waldrop is hitting 97 in the 8th inning. Like, Carolina's got a lot of capable ball players. They don't have those guys right now. They just don't have those kind of arms. And you need those kind of arms. In today's game especially, you have to have those kind of arms to compete at a high level. So the first thing the Gamecocks did not have that they've got to find moving forward to take the next step is a true dominant ace. Because even, guys, I said it in the preseason. For South Carolina to reach its full potential, Will Sanders must be an all-conference or all-American caliber pitcher. And he was not. And I could argue that's one of the things that held South Carolina back. Because imagine you have Will Sanders in game 1. Imagine he goes out there and gives you 8 innings strong, 1 earned run. You win game 1 against Florida, guys. If you have that version of Will Sanders, you win game 1. You win that ball game, and you completely change that weekend. But at no point, really, outside of maybe 1 or 2 starts, at no point did you have that guy. South Carolina has to find that guy. They've got to find their ace moving forward. Guys, something else I think held South Carolina back this season, and they've got to fix moving forward if they're going to make that push to Omaha. Just flat out consistency in the lineup. Because you still, here's the thing, you look at the numbers. There were a lot of positive strides made this year. But what's crazy is this. You still look at the numbers. Carolina hit 273 as a team. It's respectable, but it's not great. Guys, Carolina only had 3 hitters hit above 300. I mean, 626 strikeouts on the season. And this lineup, guys, was much, much better throughout the year. Like, based off previous seasons that we have seen, they were much better. Don't get me wrong. The offense was much better. Made a lot of positive strides. A lot of guys had great seasons, right? I mean, Cole Messina hit 307. Braylon Wimmer hit 304, did exactly what you'd hope he'd do. I mean, Ethan Petrie, of course, 376. He had 23 bombs. Messina was 17. Wimmer was 14. Gavin Costas hit 19 bombs. What a pickup that was out of the transfer portal. But you can never have too many sticks, right? And so you talk about this lineup and consistency throughout, by the way. And injuries hurt this for sure. Injuries hurt this, especially at the halfway point. But when South Carolina went cold, they went ice cold. And some of this can come back to the pitching, right? If you have that dominant ace, he can bail you out when the offense isn't swinging it quite the way you need to. But overall, just consistency in the lineup. At times, not often, but at times, it did feel like it went back to that feast or famine mentality. When pitchers were not helping the Gamecocks with walks, with hit by pitches, when South Carolina was not getting the assist, it seemed as if sometimes they just shut down as an offense. You've got to find ways to still be productive. You have to. And I know it's tough. It's much easier said than done, by the way. I mean, these are guys out there. Again, you saw the guys like Sproat, Waldrop. It's much easier said than done. But consistency, 1 through 9. I think we'd all agree Carolina did not have that 1 through 9. They had that 1 through 6, 1 through 5, but it wasn't always 1 through 9. So more consistency in the lineup. And that brings me to this as well, because you saw 7, 8, 9. Let's just call it for what it is. Guys like Will Tippett, Dylan Brewer, and I think Tippett's got a bright future, by the way. But guys like Dylan Brewer, Evan Stone, even when Cole Messina went out, Jonathan French, I mean, you saw these guys struggle, man. There's no other way to put it. You just saw them. Even Carson Hornung, when he got his opportunities, you saw guys struggle, man. And I know some of these players I just mentioned, they dealt with injuries. I understand that. Caleb Denny. But something else that South Carolina, I think, did not have quite enough of, and that they've got to, whether it's through high school ranks, whether it's through the transfer portal, they've got to go out and find more quality depth. Flat out. They've got to go out and find more quality depth. And you're able to do that through the portal. You're able to do that in recruiting. And that's the only way you can do it, adding quality bodies. A team like Florida, it's not much different than football, guys. Florida's got guys on the bench that can come off, and they're just as good as the starters. I don't know that the Gamecocks have that quite right now. And that's something that takes time. You build a program, it takes time. But there was a noticeable drop-off when your starters went out. And that leads me to, I was going to say the final thing. I'm going to add one more, though. I had 4 things on my list. I'm going to add a 5th. But to piggyback off of the quality depth, why did you have to lean so much on depth? Well, guys, what South Carolina, this program, what they've got to figure out under Mark Kingston, and I am not here to attack Billy Anderson, who has been with the South Carolina baseball program for what feels like forever, but there has got to be a sit-down this offseason. They have got to have a come-to-Jesus meeting and just figure out, why can the Yardcocks not stay healthy? Why? Because it didn't cost you everything this year like it did in 2022. But, guys, Carolina, again, wasn't healthy. And I know injuries, they happen all over the country. And you're never going to get through a season in which you end the year with the same roster you started it with, where everybody's still 100%. That's just not realistic. But every year, man, it's pitcher after pitcher after pitcher going down with Tommy John. There's just constantly injuries with guys, in your starting 9. I mean, a guy like Will McGillis, why was he rushed back early? Why was he rushed back to a point where he could tweak his injury? Why did that happen? We don't talk about that. Like, why was he rushed back to a point where he could re-aggravate that? The injuries, like the ability to stay healthy, it ruined your chances in Omaha this year. And if you don't get it corrected, it's going to be the same old song and dance year after year after year. It's something that has to be addressed. It has to be. It must be addressed. Because I think back, I'm like, did South Carolina suffer this many injuries in 10, 11, 12? Like, I know injuries happen. Like, I recall specifically, Jackie Bradley Jr. went down for a month because he messed up his wrist, right? Christian Walker dealt with a I think it was a broken hamate bone. I think that's what it's called in his thumb. And he played through it in the College World Series. Like, those teams dealt with injuries, but it's like these teams under Mark Kingston, they're not just injuries that are like a couple of weeks or a month. Like, bro, these injuries are knocking guys out for the season. I mean, we're talking about pitchers are dropping like flies. What is happening? And if it's bad luck, it's bad luck, but it must be reevaluated. Billy Anderson, the strength staff, they got to reevaluate what the hell they're doing. And maybe it's not on them. Maybe it's because these guys are playing year-round baseball. But there's got to be a look in the mirror. There has to be. To say, like, are we putting our guys in the best possible position to make it through a 60-plus game season healthy? Are we doing everything we can? If you can look in the mirror and say absolutely yes, then I guess you just chalk it up to bad luck and it is what it is. But it just seems like, man, it is crazy how many pitchers go into the knife for South Carolina. It's absolutely bonkers. Can you stay healthy? Can you stay healthy for the most part? Can you not lose your big-time arms, man? Like, that is just – it's backbreaking. It's the Eli Jersenbeck injury, for example. It's something's got to be reevaluated. And finally, guys, and I didn't have this one on my list, but it came to my mind as I was doing this, and it has to be included. What held the Yardcocks back this season, and what must they fix to take the next step and get to Omaha? Man, defensively. South Carolina's got to get better defensively. Bottom line. You were great in the Columbia Regional, did not make a single error. And you were great the majority of game one up until late in that game when you made an error. And then game two, it kind of went sideways on you. But we saw South Carolina struggle defensively at times. I mean, really struggle. And I don't have the SEC standings in front of me. The Gamecocks finished with a .975 fielding percentage. Not terrible. That's not awful. As I'm pulling up the statistics for the SEC, here we go. The Gamecocks in fielding percentage. Let's see here. Okay. South Carolina finished 12th out of 14 teams in the SEC in fielding percentage. Kentucky, number 1 at .984, who also got eliminated in the Super Regionals, by the way, by LSU on their home field, which is not surprising at all. But South Carolina finished 12th, guys. .975. That's or tied for 11th, should I say. You know what's funny? Who do they finish tied with? The LSU Tigers. But when you're a team like LSU, who led the league in hitting 314, you're able to get away with it, right? But if South Carolina is going to continue to be a pretty average hitting ball club, which, by the way, Carolina finished tied for 11th in that category as well, all right, with Arkansas, hit .273. Tied for 11th in hitting. Second in ERA, right? So those two things balance out. The third facet of the game, fielding, defense, it's got to be top half of the league. It has to improve. It absolutely has to improve. And it held South Carolina back. It hurt them during that losing streak in the last month of the season. And it really gave them zero chance to win game 2 in Gainesville. It bit you multiple times. It has to be fixed. It has to be fixed moving forward because there's no excuse. You're at the University of South Carolina. You're good enough to be elite defensively. Absolutely, you're good enough. There is no excuse whatsoever. These are mental mistakes. They are not physical mistakes for the most part. And what I mean by that is a physical mistake is one in which, hey, you've made the play 1,000 times. Ball takes a funny hop. You dive for a ball, and it goes off your glove, and you're trying to make a play. You're going 100, and you know, it's baseball. It happens, right? Not every bounce goes your way. But a mental mistake, guys, this is a ground ball. You've done this 1,000 times, 1,000 reps. You've done it correctly 1,000 times. Why would you not do it correctly this time? It's all mental. It's all mental, man. And I know, again, easier said than done. Baseball's a very tough game. Errors are going to happen, but you have to minimize that. You have to minimize that. You have to find a way. So again, guys, what I think held South Carolina back from being an Omaha club this season and what they must correct going into 2024 if they're going to take the next step. Find a true dominant ace. Find consistency in your lineup 1 through 9. Go out and get those guys who give you the consistency. On that note, quality depth. Quality depth held you back. Go out and get those guys that give you quality depth going into 2024. On that note as well, the ability to stay healthy. My goodness. Reevaluate what went wrong in 2022 and 2023. Why do some of your top players keep going down with injury, especially your pitchers? What must change with the workout program, in season, off season, all the above? And finally, defensively. Tied for 11th in the SEC defensively is not good enough at South Carolina. Held you back this year. What do you need to do to correct it? Guys, that being said, let's go ahead and jump into our first break of the day. On the side, we'll keep the conversation rolling here on this Monday. You're tuned in to the Daily Crow. Attention all Gamecocks seafood lovers. Are you tired of searching for the freshest seafood in town? Look no further than the Carolina Fish Market, your go-to destination for the finest and most flavorful seafood in the Carolinas and beyond. Introducing the new Carolina Seafood Subscription Box, a culinary delight delivered right to your doorstep. Each month, you'll receive a carefully curated selection of fresh local seafood sourced directly from the waters of the Carolinas and beyond. From succulent shrimp to mouth-watering grouper to flounder or tuna and everything in between, their subscription box brings the ocean's bounty straight to your Gamecock kitchen. What sets the Carolina Fish Market apart is their commitment to quality and sustainability. They work closely with local fishermen and women who use responsible fishing practices, ensuring that every bite you take supports both your taste buds and our precious marine ecosystems. They've even won Best Seafood 5 out of the last 8 years. But that's not all. They're offering free shipping to all TSUS listeners on every Carolina Seafood subscription box, making it even easier for you to indulge in the flavors of the coast. Experience the convenience and joy of having fresh seafood delivered right to your door without any of the hassle. Don't miss on this incredible opportunity to elevate your culinary adventures with the Carolina Fish Market's Carolina Seafood Subscription Box. Join the seafood enthusiasts across the nation who are savoring the taste of the Carolinas, one delectable bite at a time, and just in time for Father's Day. Visit their website today at carolinafishmarket.com. That's carolinafishmarket.com, and embark on a seafood journey like no other. Freshness, flavor, and convenience await you. Order your Carolina Seafood Subscription Box now and use the promo code SPURSUP, that's SPURSUP, for $10 off your first purchase. Again, that's promo code SPURSUP, SPURSUP, for $10 off your first purchase. The Carolina Fish Market, where taste meets the ocean.
Muscle Dougie, ho.
All right, guys, we're back here on this Monday, June the 12th, 2023. Again, I hope each and every single one of you enjoyed your weekend. And now we move truly into the off season, right? As we count down the days to South Carolina football, 82 days until kickoff. But we still got a lot of baseball conversation and commentary early in this week. And I certainly want to keep the conversation rolling here on this Monday. As this season concludes, and we set expectations for Mark Kingston in this program in year 6, season 5 of his tenure. Everyone agreed, at least yours truly, and I feel like the majority agreed that it was super regionals or bust for Mark Kingston. Well, mission accomplished. You reached the super regionals. At no point in the preseason did the goals shift to Omaha or bust. Now, because of a 34-6 start and a number 3 in the country overall ranking, the expectations changed for some. The minimum expectations changed for some. And Omaha became the new standard for this season. And while I do agree with folks that it's a shame that South Carolina, that this team did not make it to the promised land with all of the promise that they showed early on in the year. As I said over the weekend, and I will continue to repeat, Mark Kingston earned his way back for the 2024 season. And so that has shifted the conversation from, okay, well then, what are the expectations for South Carolina baseball? Is Mark Kingston living up to those? And I think to answer that question, you have to answer the first part of the question. What are the expectations of the Yardcocks on a year-in, year-out basis? What's good enough at South Carolina? Because expecting a national championship every year is unrealistic, but we've seen this program under Ray Tanner reach unprecedented heights, back-to-back national championships in 2010 and 2011. A third appearance in the national championship in 2012. So we've seen South Carolina baseball reach heights that, again, are unprecedented in the college baseball space. So with that being said, guys, I'm going to give you what are because I have high expectations. And there are some out there that maybe feel, Chris should have made it Omaha or bust. When are we going to get back to Omaha? And this is a fan base, yours included, that is starving for Omaha. But what are the expectations of the Yardcocks? I am going to lay this out to you over the course of a decade, okay? Over the course of a decade, because I think you can't work off a 2-3 year sample size. Not even 5 years is enough. Over the course of a decade, I think is a fair way to measure it, okay? So this is how I feel. This is what I think the minimum expectation should be for South Carolina baseball over the course of a decade, okay? So let me first start off by saying this. Missing the postseason at South Carolina is unacceptable, flat out. With the resources, the fan support, the recruiting, the history, the tradition, missing the postseason is unacceptable. It's what cost Chad Holbrook his job. And guess what, guys? If South Carolina misses the postseason in 2024, it's what will cost Mark Kingston his job. South Carolina already showed you miss the postseason 2 out of 3 years, you're gone. It doesn't matter why. I don't want to hear about injuries, none of it. You are gone. And that's what I first have on my list. Regionals, making the regionals. Minimum expectations for a decade, 9 out of 10 years. I'll give you one bad year. I'll give you one. And I'm not saying you got to host every year, although I think you should be a regional host most seasons. But making the regionals 9 out of every 10 years over the course of a decade. You don't get to miss it more than once. You look at South Carolina baseball under Ray Tanner. When did they miss the postseason, guys? They made the postseason every year from, I believe it was 1998 up until his departure in 2012. It was a given that South Carolina baseball was going to not only go to the regionals, but host. That's absolutely the bare minimum expectation, in my opinion, for a season at South Carolina. So 9 out of 10 years, making the regionals. When you start talking about super regionals, right? Especially, hey, if you're hosting, let's say if you make the regionals 9 out of every 10 years, I think you ought to be hosting 5 to 6 times out of that 9, if not more. But we'll go conservative. 5 to 6 times out of that 9, okay? So how many times should you be making the super regionals? I say 6 out of every 10 years. The super regional round, at minimum, I'll say 50% of the time. If you go 5 out of 10, okay, I might let you slide. But super regional, 6 out of 10 should be the goal and the expectation and the standard. You're in the final 16, giving yourself an opportunity to go to Omaha. You do that, and you're making the super 6 out of 10 years every decade, you're one of the elite programs in college baseball. No questions asked. Now, the big question I've gotten, how often should you be going to the College World Series? Well, let me say this. You have to understand how difficult it is to get there. Nobody wants to hear that, right? Nobody wants to hear that. But you do have to recognize that and acknowledge it. For me, the minimum expectation and what South Carolina baseball should be doing over the course of a decade, you should make it to Omaha at minimum 3 times a decade. Especially if you're giving yourself an opportunity to get there 6 times a decade, right? Going to the super regionals. You should be able to convert 50% of the time and get to Omaha. Hey, if you're really good and you're hosting most of those supers, that number goes up. But the minimum expectation should be 3 times a decade to get to Omaha, which I think is a very, very fair ask of the program. It is a very fair ask. When you consider what South Carolina baseball has done, again, the resources they have, the fan support, the recruiting base, the history, the tradition, 3 times a decade, I do not believe is asking too much. And then finally, how often should you be winning the national championship? And this is one that's really tough, guys, because, I mean, to win a national title, you've got to have beyond just a great season. You've got to have the ball bounce your way. And if you're going to Omaha every year, nobody's going to complain, right? No coach out there is getting fired because, well, it was national title or bust this year. That's just not a reality in college baseball because of the sheer difficulty in accomplishing that feat. But I just say 1 out of 10. The goal every year is to get to Omaha and win it all. If you can do it once a decade, hey, that's an incredible accomplishment. But it took South Carolina up till 2010 to ever win one of them, right? So it's not quite as easy as just getting there and running through the field and stacking it up, right? But if you can get 1 out of 10, set that as your goal. So again, my expectations for the Yardcocks over the course of a decade, because this has been a very hot topic, what are minimum expectations? Has the standard been lost in Columbia? Well, here they are. Make the regionals 9 out of 10 seasons. I'll give you one bad year. That's all I'm giving you, though. 9 out of 10 seasons, you should be hosting most years. Super Regionals, 6 out of 10 seasons. 50% conversion rate in regards to going to Omaha. College World Series, 3 out of 10 seasons. And the goal should be to win a national championship once a decade. How do your expectations for South Carolina baseball compare to mine? Am I not being harsh enough? Do you feel like I'm not asking enough of this great, proud program? Or would you deem those expectations as fair and realistic? Guys, we're going to jump into another break on to the side. Hey, we're going to go ahead and open it up for the Power Hour. I want to hear from you. 843-790-3377 here on this Monday. Your questions, your comments, your calls, and more. On the other side, you're tuned in to the Daily Crow. Attention all Gamecocks seafood lovers. Are you tired of searching for the freshest seafood in town? Look no further than the Carolina Fish Market, your go-to destination for the finest and most flavorful seafood in the Carolinas and beyond. Introducing the new Carolina Seafood Subscription Box, a culinary delight delivered right to your doorstep. Each month, you'll receive a carefully curated selection of fresh local seafood sourced directly from the waters of the Carolinas and beyond. From succulent shrimp to mouth-watering grouper to flounder or tuna and everything in between, their subscription box brings the ocean's bounty straight to your Gamecock kitchen. What sets the Carolina Fish Market apart is their commitment to quality and sustainability. They work closely with local fishermen and women who use responsible fishing practices, ensuring that every bite you take supports both your taste buds and our precious marine ecosystems. They've even won Best Seafood 5 out of the last 8 years. But that's not all. They're offering free shipping to all TSUS listeners on every Carolina Seafood subscription box, making it even easier for you to indulge in the flavors of the coast. Experience the convenience and joy of having fresh seafood delivered right to your door without any of the hassle. Don't miss on this incredible opportunity to elevate your culinary adventures with the Carolina Fish Market's Carolina Seafood Subscription Box. Join the seafood enthusiasts across the nation who are savoring the taste of the Carolinas, one delectable bite at a time, and just in time for Father's Day. Visit their website today at carolinafishmarket.com. That's carolinafishmarket.com, and embark on a seafood journey like no other. Freshness, flavor, and convenience await you. Order your Carolina Seafood Subscription Box now and use the promo code SPURSUP, that's SPURSUP, for $10 off your first purchase. Again, that's promo code SPURSUP, SPURSUP, for $10 off your first purchase. The Carolina Fish Market, where taste meets the ocean.
Marshall Dougie, ho.
All right, guys, we're back here on this Monday, June the 12th, 2023. I got a little distracted looking at some recruiting stuff. I do apologize. But either way, we are back here on this Monday. Appreciate you all tuning in. And we are beginning our Q&A Power Hour. It gets underway early here on this Monday because, of course, no Mark Rogers. He is on vacation. Feels good to be good. I hear you, my guy. But in the spirit of that, we're taking your questions, comments, calls. The phone lines are wide open. Give us a ring, 843-790-3377. That's 843-790-3377 here on this Monday. And also those in the Big Cock Club Discord, you can leave your questions. I'm going to jump there first. Our guy, Austin Gregory, says this. What is your take on umpires and referees alike having to face post-game interview questions? I've put lots of thought into this, and I'm not sure why it's not required for them to face questions about their performance, just as it is required for players and coaches to face questions about theirs. To me, it holds them to a higher standard, and in no way could be bad for the sport. This goes for all sports. And Austin, I understand why you're asking that, because it felt like South Carolina got the shaft all weekend long, and especially when you look at the Friday game, the obstruction call, if you will, that same umpire was behind the plate in game 2, and it certainly looked that way, right? Based off a lot of the calls that we saw, and the umpiring was just atrocious across the board from start to finish. Austin, let me say this, though. I think what you have to first start and think about is this. Are these umpires full-time paid employees by the SEC? The answer, as far as I know, is no. And so if they're not, if they're just damn near volunteering, right, then I don't think it's fair to have to put them on the podium. I don't think it's fair to make them answer questions. They're not even paid employees. They're not even doing this full-time. They're not just umpires all year round. That's not all they do, right? And so that's your first problem, I think. I really believe that's your first problem. We need to get officials and umpires and just referees across all sports that this is what they do. Because there's so much on the line in the SEC, right? It doesn't make sense to have part-time officiators. It doesn't make sense to do that in the biggest, baddest conference in the country. It doesn't make sense. But if they're not full-time paid employees, and like a lot of this is contractual stuff. Like Mark Kingston has to speak to the media. It's in his contract, guys. And the players speaking to the media, I don't know exactly how that works, how that's built in, if you will. But I don't disagree. Like, it would be awesome to get referees at the podium. But you got to make them paid employees first, man. You have to. You have to. So while I get what you're saying, I think there's more steps to it, and I don't think it's just as simple as, well, let's hold the officiating crew to the fire. Also, Austin, I would challenge you and say this, like, what do you expect to learn from them in the postgame? They're just going to adamantly defend what they call. Like, what do you expect to learn from them? I more so need full-time trained, paid officiating and umpires and refs and what have you. I need that more than I need them to sit at the podium and answer questions. That's just going to frustrate me even more when I hear them try to explain a call that screwed my team over. So make them paid employees, make them full-time, send them to training. Don't ask people to do it part-time in the biggest, baddest conference in the world. That seems like a fair ask to me, Austin. That seems like a fair ask in my opinion. Let's get into your questions, guys, on YouTube. Let's see. Let's see. Austin Gregory says, BCC Discord is truly 24/7 coverage. Thank you, Austin. I appreciate it, man. I'm glad you like it. And Austin's been a fantastic member since he joined. A lot of banter, a lot of conversation, a lot of back and forth, which I truly appreciate. John Ebert says, pretty normal week as far as tuning into TDC except for Friday, since I'll be out of town for my brother's bachelor weekend. Have fun with that, John Ebert. Have fun with that. Braddock said another day closer to football. Yep, 82 days. Ethan says, losing Braswell hurts, was going to start at short next year, but now we have to go to the portal yet again. Apparently, Ethan, and this is just the hot rumor, word on the street, apparently the reason that Michael Braswell hit the transfer portal is because he wanted to be guaranteed he would start at shortstop next year, and the coaching staff would not do it. Apparently, they've got a freshman coming in that they feel really, really high on. I know baseball recruiting is not publicized to the level that, football or even basketball recruiting is, but apparently they've got a shortstop coming in as a true freshman they feel like is a stud. And I'll say this, if that's true, if that's the case, I mean, that's really unfortunate. You know what I mean? Because to put the coaching staff in a position where like they have to promise something, that's just crappy, man. That's just crappy. It is. Like, you never promise things as a coach. You go out there and you work your tail off and you earn that job, you'll win that job. But we're not promising you that job. That job isn't, you don't have a right to that job. You got to go earn that job. And so if that is the case, again, just speculating, just the word on the street, if that's the case, it's unfortunate because it just puts the coaches in a really tough situation. But it does suck to lose Michael Braswell. You're absolutely right. Braddock says, last year I thought Will Sanders was going to be one of those aces. I thought he was too, man. This year especially as well. Turns to baseball. Yeah, he was perfect game rated him as like a 9 out of 10 on their rating scale, which if you look at their rating scale, a 9 out of 10 is basically like they 100% believe he's a draft guy. Like he's going to be a draft guy. So Stone Blanton was not some average baseball player. Like he was very good. Very good. Will he return to baseball? I don't know. Jeff, I don't know. I don't know. I think one of the big reasons, of course, one of the reasons he didn't play this year was because the injuries he suffered during football. But he's also, he's one of your main dudes in the middle, man. And we don't know. Does he love football more than baseball? The opposite? I have no idea. But he figures to be one of your main guys in the interior of your defense. And so maybe he has just fully embraced that. And he's leaning into that versus the baseball side of things. Justin Langford says, Jeff, if Stone isn't playing meaningful snaps on the gridiron, then he should try the diamond. Well, that's the thing, Justin. We all know he is playing meaningful snaps on the gridiron. Justin, we know that. We know that he is, right? Octavian's back. He says, go Gators. Also said, we own South Carolina. Finally says, the Gators will win the baseball championship. Octavian, congratulations to you, my friend. Congrats to you. You beat Carolina fair and square. Florida was the better team this week, and that's it. That's it. Austin Gregory, how would you say our big three, football, men's basketball, and baseball, stack up against the rest of the SEC? Great question, Austin. I think that would take some time to sit down and, do a little bit more research and compile a list, if you will. But I would say South Carolina, you think about it. Football on the rise under Shane Beamer. Baseball just finished in the Supers. Men's basketball is the real kicker that's down and out. If you factor in women's as well, I think South Carolina's right up there. But, you look at some of the top programs or some of the top administrations, athletic departments, if you will, of the big three that you're mentioning. You got to say Alabama, right? Basketball is incredible. Football is incredible. Baseball was in the Supers. You then say, I think Arkansas has a really good program across the board, big three. Tennessee has a really good program across the board, the big three. But South Carolina's up there. I think the Gamecocks are up there for sure. Austin Gregory says, Robbie Davis over-under set at 8 minutes and 15 seconds following this weekend's results. Also big news, the Robbie Davis money line is now exclusively a Monday betting line as I have found something better to do with my life Tuesday through Sunday. Austin Gregory says, money line Mondays. Love that. Love that, Austin. So he says 8 minutes and 15 seconds. Okay. Feels a little bit long. Braddock 843 says, I feel like at least I hope that these coaches know all you're saying around getting an elite pitcher and consistent battling with depth. They certainly get paid enough to know. Why aren't they? Braddock, I think they know. Listen, to the credit of the staff, Braddock, I don't think they knew Will Sanders was going to have as bad a year as he did, Braddock. I don't think they knew that. I don't think any of us knew that, right? So, you know, but they need to find that guy for sure. Braddock says that's when it becomes an issue around the coaching. Can they not evaluate talent? Is the strength and conditioning dated? And can they build a winning culture? Yeah, I mean, I think when you fall short of your goal, which Omaha is this program's goal, when you fall short of the goal, everything should be reevaluated, right? Everything has to be. Everything has to be. And I'm actually kind of surprised. Lynn Turner says, by the way, at least some of the injuries this year had nothing to do with conditioning. Getting hurt by a pitch has nothing to do with conditioning. Lynn, you're absolutely right. I think I'm speaking almost more so about the pitchers. I think you're absolutely right. So, Will Hall says, a promise like a starting spot means you think you're bigger than the team. Yeah, I mean, again, it's a rumor, Will. I don't want to pile on and it not be true for sure. But, again, if that's the case, it's just you put your coaching staff in a tough spot. You really do. Anyways, I would say this. What kind of surprises me is there's nobody in the chat that's calling for Mark Kingston to be gone. It's interesting, right? There's the feeling amongst the fan base here on this Monday. There's almost like a somber, which is expected, despondent, dejection. And as I said last night on the Rowdy Rooster Rundown, it's one of those things where it's like, you invest so much of all of us in here, we're diehards. We watch every game. We follow along with every game. You guys follow along with all the content, everything. So we invest a lot of ourselves, damn near all of ourselves into this thing from start to finish. And it's just brutal, man, when it comes to an end. It's brutal when, it's brutal when the abrupt ending takes place. And that's certainly, that's the feeling today. I mean, it was a great year. It was it's interesting looking back on it. I mean, 42-21, 16-13 in SEC play, a win in Hoover, Columbia Regional Champions, 2 wins away from Omaha. But what will you guys remember the season for? Because I think, unfortunately, like when we look back on this season, 2023 will be remembered for the collapse. I think that unfortunately is going to be what you recall it for. And I think that's not, you could argue it's not fair, but in baseball, it's in some respects, it is Omaha or bust for the Yardcocks. It is. And so I just wonder, though, like, how is this season viewed by people? You know what I mean? Like how is the season viewed? Do you view the season as a success? Right? Do you view the season as a success? Guys, breaking news. Shane Beamer firing off a tweet 2 minutes ago. Says, what a phone call to start the week after an amazing official visit weekend. Let's go. Y'all thought we were slowing down? Hashtag welcome home. Hashtag 24ever to thee. So, Gamecocks just picked up a commitment on the recruiting trail. And as we expected, guys, the month of June is Beamer Ball month. I mean, really, truly, that's what it is. I mean, this is the month, guys. You're going to start seeing it happening. As J.C. Sherbert also said last week, he expects that there will be 6 or 7 new commitments by the time we get to early July. So, I would expect this to be the first of many. Anyways, guys, 843-790-3377. That's 843-790-3377 here on this Monday. Just trying to get this tweet out here. Shane Beamer. This Shane Beamer tweet. Here we go. You thought we were slowing down? The Shane train is just getting going. I wonder when we'll find out who this is. That's the funniest thing too, man. You just, again, you talk about like what moves the needle, right? For people. I mean, the second that baseball game on Saturday ended, and now it's football season. Like people tweeting and stuff, like almost celebrating that, now the thing that was distracting us from talking football every day is now gone. It's just kind of funny. Like, let's see the reactions coming in. Austin Gregory, we have a welcome home. Hayden, you, another one, thank you. Austin Gregory says, Fred Johnson's the welcome home. I'm calling it. Fred Johnson, a 3-star linebacker from Norfolk, Virginia. He is my best guess. Lynn Turner says, they're not volunteering, they're getting paid. These are not SEC officials, if I understand correctly. Lynn Turner, are they full-time employees? Yes or no? Are they getting paid to the point where, like, that's what they do? They are just full-time umpires. Is that what they do? Yes or no? I could be wrong. As far as I know, they're not full-time paid employees. I don't know. Okay, Lynn Turner, even rec ball officials are trained and paid. I mean, Lynn, I umpired a rec ball game one time. Yeah, I made $40. That don't make me a professional umpire, though. You know what I mean? I mean, there's a difference in getting paid and getting paid. You see what I'm saying? Will Hall says, King earned the spot for next year. He'll have to his work cut out for him replacing the holes we know about and the ones we don't yet. Yeah, Will. I mean, I would say this, though, Will. And I had this, somewhat back and forth with this kid on Twitter about Chris, if we make the expectations are higher than the supers, we're too good to just go to the supers every year, If we go to 15 straight super regionals and lose every one of them in the supers, is that good enough? Is that good enough? Well, let me say this, guys. If you go to 15 straight supers in that hypothetical, the odds that you lose every single one of them is highly, highly unlikely, right? So it's kind of a silly question to even begin with. But I will say this. If you're going to super regionals every single year, if you're going to supers every year, if you're giving your team an opportunity to go to Omaha every single year, to that degree, guys, you have a job for life. I mean, I'm here to tell you right now, there is no coach in America getting fired for that performance. None. You're one of the best coaches in the sport if you're consistently guiding your club to the super regionals. And you're one of the most elite programs in the country, by the way, if you're going to the super regionals on a year-in, year-out basis. You are. You are. Guys, Shane Beamer tweeting out a welcome home tweet just a couple of minutes ago. Eight minutes ago. Shane Beamer getting us started here on this on this Monday. Let's see. Austin Gregory says, if you consider losing in the Super Regional as a disappointment, be prepared to be disappointed a lot in your lifetime. I just, it's how do I want to phrase this? I don't know. Because I'm someone, again, you guys heard my expectations. I have very high expectations for South Carolina baseball. And I don't think Gamecock fans, some at d1baseball.com and some other entities and outlets, they've tried to almost demonize the Carolina fan base for having these high expectations. They've tried to in the past, right? Which I think is incorrect and it's just the wrong take, right? But I almost asked myself this question. Like, and thank you to Zach Kaplan, by the way, who just joined the Big Cock Club. How about that? Zach Kaplan joining the Big Cock Club. Thank you so much, Zach. I'll say this. Like, I almost feel like we're Florida football after Steve Spurrier left. Like, guys, Ray Tanner's not walking back through that door, right? Ray Tanner's not walking back through that door. It's not happening. Mark Kingston's not Ray Tanner. And guys, there's not another Ray Tanner out there. There's not another Ray Tanner that exists. So what Ray Tanner did, I don't know that you can really you can ask that of another coach. Can you? Is it fair, you think? I don't know that it is. I don't know. Maybe an R26 says only Mark Richt can get fired for winning. Yeah, I mean, it's, and some people compared that. We're the Georgia, what Georgia football is. That's what South Carolina baseball is, and super shouldn't be enough. And I mean, listen, I'll say this. If you really do feel like that slam dunk coach is out there, then fire Mark Kingston. Then fire him. That's fine. Because, guys, I'll keep it a buck with you, right? I'll keep it a buck with you, and I'll be transparent. Do I really think Mark Kingston is the answer, like long term, to get South Carolina to Omaha and hoisting the trophy? No, not really. Because I tell you this, even in this season, which South Carolina got to the Supers, I mean, guys, we saw a lot of the same characteristics. This team, for the most part, they won more games, but the identity of this team was exactly what we thought it was going to be. You finish bottom of the conference in hitting, top of the conference in pitching. You struck out way too much. You leaned on the home run. I mean, this team was exactly what we thought it would be. This team was exactly what we thought it would be, plus Ethan Petrie. That was the only difference. Nobody saw that coming. Guys, if you take Ethan Petrie off this club, that's not fair to say, right? But just hypothetically, if you don't get Ethan Petrie, if Ethan Petrie's not on this ball club, South Carolina is a, dare I say, low 30s win team fighting for their postseason lives. Fitting the bill of what Mark Kingston teams have done throughout his tenure. And again, maybe that's an unfair hypothetical because, I mean, if you take any team's best players away, right, they're going to struggle. But we said it. This team is going to pitch well. They're going to pitch very, very well. The same song and dance that occurs with the hitting side of things, it's going to happen. They're going to swing it a little better, but not much better. Not much better. That's exactly what happened. I mean, that's literally to a T exactly what happened. I'm really curious to see if I can get these stats pulled up. And they don't see. I really want Carolina's conference hitting numbers because they hit 273 overall. But what are the conference numbers? Those statistics via Gamecocks Online, as far as I'm seeing, are not available. Oh, here we go. Okay. Yes, they are. So South Carolina hit 273 overall as a club. Overall. In SEC play alone, here we go, right? This is going to really reveal what you were this year. In SEC play alone, Carolina hit 251 as a team. One hitter hit above 300. And it was a true freshman, Ethan Petrie. Hit 359, 13 bombs, 42 ribbies in SEC play. He was unreal, right? Unreal. One guy hit above 300. It was unfortunate, the injury to Will McGillis, because he only played in 5 SEC games. He was hitting 583 through 12 at-bats. He was 7 for 12 with 3 homers, 9 RBI. But, guys, South Carolina was what we thought they'd be under Mark Kingston. A lead on the mound, SEC ERA of 5.24. Oh, by the way, I was talking about top of the show, finding a true ace. Will Sanders in SEC play, 2-2 with a 6.88 ERA. He was atrocious. I mean, he was terrible. Hell, James Hicks had a 6.37 ERA in SEC play. Was good down the stretch in the postseason, though. Jack Mahoney, your best arm, 4-2 with a 4.04. Matthew Becker went 2-3 with a 5.40. Hell, Cade Austin in SEC play out of the bullpen had an 8.71 ERA. Eli Jones, 5.81 ERA. 0-4 in SEC play. Not all his fault, but 0-4. Chris Veach, 1.69. He was very good in 16 innings pitched in SEC play. Noah Hall had a 4.32. 2-1 with a 4.32. Unfortunate how his season played out. Nick Proctor had a 4.76. I just have not seen these stats, guys. And these are the stats that matter, right? I mean, the non-conference stuff's great and all. And by the way, you fielded 970 in SEC play, which I would assume is probably dead last in the league. So the SEC statistics will really tell you the story of just how good Carolina was. Guys, let's go ahead and jump into another break on the side. Let's keep the convo going. We're taking more of your questions, your comments, your calls, and more on the side. You're tuned in to the Daily Crow. Attention all Gamecock seafood lovers. Are you tired of searching for the freshest seafood in town? Look no further than the Carolina Fish Market, your go-to destination for the finest and most flavorful seafood in the Carolinas and beyond. Introducing the new Carolina Seafood Subscription Box, a culinary delight delivered right to your doorstep. Each month, you'll receive a carefully curated selection of fresh local seafood sourced directly from the waters of the Carolinas and beyond. From succulent shrimp to mouth-watering grouper to flounder or tuna and everything in between, their subscription box brings the ocean's bounty straight to your Gamecock kitchen. What sets the Carolina Fish Market apart is their commitment to quality and sustainability. They work closely with local fishermen and women who use responsible fishing practices, ensuring that every bite you take supports both your taste buds and our precious marine ecosystems. They've even won Best Seafood 5 out of the last 8 years. But that's not all. They're offering free shipping to all TSUS listeners on every Carolina Seafood subscription box, making it even easier for you to indulge in the flavors of the coast. Experience the convenience and joy of having fresh seafood delivered right to your door without any of the hassle. Don't miss on this incredible opportunity to elevate your culinary adventures with the Carolina Fish Market's Carolina Seafood Subscription Box. Join the seafood enthusiasts across the nation who are savoring the taste of the Carolinas, one delectable bite at a time, and just in time for Father's Day. Visit their website today at carolinafishmarket.com. That's carolinafishmarket.com, and embark on a seafood journey like no other. Freshness, flavor, and convenience await you. Order your Carolina Seafood Subscription Box now and use the promo code SPURSUP, that's SPURSUP, for $10 off your first purchase. Again, that's promo code SPURSUP, SPURSUP, for $10 off your first purchase. The Carolina Fish Market, where taste meets the ocean.
Marshall Dougie, ho.
Guys, we're back here on this Monday, June the 12th, 2023. Appreciate each and every single one of you tuning in. Again, the phone lines are open at 843-790-3377. And I believe, by the way, Austin Gregory, if I recall correctly, Robbie Davis will not be calling in this week at any point. Remember, he told us he's going on a retreat because he said it started on Sunday, and I was like, well, hopefully you don't miss the Florida game. So I don't think we're going to hear from Robbie Davis literally all week long. So this might be a Robbie Davis-less week of TDC. Huh. How about that? Those are rare. Graduated band homie, a.k.a. our guy Brendan in the Big Cock Club Discord said, whoever said Mark Kingston is the Mark Richt of baseball is 1,000% right. Is he the Mark Richt of baseball? Or is he the Will Muschamp of baseball? I mean, there's some would argue Muschamp over Richt, but again, guys, in case you missed it, the Gamecocks picking up a commitment. Shane Beamer throwing out his welcome home tweet within the last 30 minutes or so. What a phone call to start the week after an amazing official visit weekend. Let's go. Y'all thought we were slowing down? Hashtag welcome home. Hashtag 24ever to thee. By the way, guys, don't forget I'm on Mark Ryan's show today. Offsides of Mark Ryan, 440. We will chat. I'm sure that Mark Ryan will do his best to dance on my grave. But, you know, guys, I picked the Gators to advance. And I'll say this too, by the way. I don't know if any of you saw the post because it wasn't my first post after the game. But after the game, I quote tweeted my prediction for the weekend, which had Gators advance in big letters on it. And the prediction itself was not popular amongst Gamecock Nation. But I quote tweeted that and just said, you know, hey, this is why I made the prediction. I felt like Florida was going to be really tough to beat on their home field. They're one of the best teams in the country. It wouldn't surprise me if they won it all. And not many, actually, but there were a few, one or two, that took that a bit personally, if you will. And let me just say this. Dude, I catch, and I think I'm going to start doing this, by the way, going into the baseball season, or excuse me, going into the football season, because maybe this is me being petty, but I am so tired of people giving me shit for the predictions that every single one of them is wrong. So what we're going to do is this. We're going to start keeping a tracker, a picks tracker. The same way that I track my SEC gambling picks, we are going to track Chris's predictions. And we're going to just we're just going to see how many I get wrong. So forgive me for, you know what, even though the Gamecocks lost, highlighting and saying, well, this old slapdick knows a thing or two. This old slapdick, sometimes he gets a pick right. I only hear the chatter when I get them wrong. But I get them right a time or two as well. So, folks like Brennan M., you have them to blame for me bringing up my prediction after the fact. I mean, it's funny. People give me so much shit for the predictions. It's like, what do you want me to do, man? When Carolina loses, dance on our graves and tell you how right I was? Nobody wants me to do that. But people like the folks who attack me for my predictions. They make me want to do it. And that's the sad thing, man. So I'm not going to make a habit of that, but I just felt like it was necessary after the weekend of baseball concluded to say, guess this old slapdick still knows a thing or two. I don't know. Either way, though, we're going to start tracking these predictions. And oh, by the way, no big deal. I've just the last two football seasons. Year one of Shane Beamer picked 6-6, 3-5. We went 6-6, 3-5. Last year, I picked 8-4. I was the 4-4 in the SEC. I was the only person, by the way. I was the only person, you might recall last year during the summer, that picked the Gamecocks to beat Clemson when it was a wild, outlandish, crazy pick. On the road, picked the Gamecocks to get the dub. Picked the Gamecocks to beat Clemson the week of. Nailed both those too. I don't have ego in the sense of like I need you to know how good I am at predictions because you make so many. I mean, I get a lot of them wrong, but it's kind of funny, the chatter around predictions. It is kind of funny. It is kind of funny. Anyways, Austin Gregory says, anybody heard from Panic Ritter? May need to do a welfare check after the departure of Brazzy. Panic Ritter's here, Austin. That's what he just said. Chris Gray says, Kingston is the Buzz Peterson of baseball. Travis says, the 2014 Carolina-Georgia game is on now on SEC Network. How about that? Travis, SEC Network has just, they've just completely run out of stuff to air, haven't they? There's no games. There's no nothing. They're just like, you know what? We got to run something. Let's run some old games. That's cool, though. That's a great game. Austin Gregory, Mike Boo Boo, and Muscrap will be the end of Georgia's dynasty run. We'll see. Marion R26, Robbie's helping with church camp all this week. How about that? Hope Robbie's well. Appreciate you, Marion. Travis says, just imagine if we'd have had a better defense that year, 2014. Yeah, Carolina would have probably been, they'd have been a force for sure. Austin Gregory, BGB ranks Pete Limbo the #1 special teams coordinator in the country. Very fair. Very fair. Yeah. I mean, here's the thing, guys. Special teams is not sexy to talk about, but how can you not talk about it when it comes to the Gamecocks? How can you not talk about it? You know? How about this? There's another college football preseason magazine coming out. The Transfer Portal College Football on Twitter. The Transfer Portal. In-depth previews of all 133 FBS teams. Very cool stuff. The more the merrier, right, when it comes to college football preseason contents. Yep, big game boomer top 50 special teams coordinators of college football. Pete Limbo, number 1. Hey, LeVar Woods from Iowa, number 2, which makes sense because they're always punting. How about former Gamecock Coleman Hutzler at number 12 for Alabama? How about that? Mike Reed for Clemson, number 22. So, interesting. Let's get back into your questions here. Bruin Nation, what's up, man? What's going on? Appreciate you. Austin Gregory, would you choose to lengthen the football season by 5 games if you could? While it's definitely missed, I believe the scarcity is what makes us miss it so much. I mean, Austin Gregory, I've had that conversation a lot on these airwaves about, because it's funny. I used to kind of be like, why do people not just invest in the baseball season? Because I love baseball. I'm like, God, I used to just kind of wonder why. Why is football such king? You know what I mean? Now I've leaned into it, embrace it. I mean, I understand it more so to a degree now as well. And you're right, Austin. One of the biggest reasons is the scarcity. I mean, it's one of the things that makes college football and football in general so special is because, in baseball, you have 60 games. Basketball, you've got 32 or something in the regular season. There's just so many games. So, missing a game, for example, it doesn't move the needle for anybody, right? You miss a baseball game, who cares? There's another one tomorrow, right? MLB season feels the same way. In football, there are 12 opportunities in the regular season to watch your team play. There's only 7 home games, 6 home games if you're South Carolina and game 1's a neutral site. So it really is, Austin, the scarcity. You know what I mean? The scarcity that's one of the things that makes it special. Also, Austin, you factor in that, one of the things that makes it special, it's our modern day version of combat. I mean, you go back all the way to the Roman times, right? When people would gather at the cathedral to watch the gladiators of the time fight to the death. Well, they're not killing each other on the field, but that's what football is a modern day version of. It is the modern day gladiator sport. And that's another one of the things that makes it so just polarizing and interesting. Austin Gregory, what would you set the over-under line for June welcome homes at, including the one today? I'll go the over-under. I would set it, including the one today, I'd go at 6.5. So to South Carolina gets 6 more commitments this month. That might sound like a lot, guys, but I mean, you're about to add a lot of pieces, right? I mean, you're at 10 commitments right now, probably. I think it's 10 or 11, maybe. I mean, you're almost going to double that number before it's all said and done. So I'd probably say 6.5. Anyways, guys, 843-790-3377. That's 843-790-3377. Hayden Yu says we have 10 now, counting the one today. Okay, very good. Austin Gregory, who is the main recruiter for Dylan Stewart? I know it's all hands on deck, but whose recruit would it be considered? I mean, is Dylan Stewart not an edge player? Would it not be Travian Robertson's? I would imagine Travian Robertson and Sterling Lucas would be the main guys. I mean, Clayton White's also going to be involved. At least what I would imagine. I mean, I think 24/7 will actually tell you. Yeah, Sterling. Okay, recruited by Sterling Lucas. That would be a huge pickup, man. Huge pickup. Guys, let's jump to the phone lines here.
Call from
Dalton.
Dalton, what's up, man? How are you?
Hey, man. This weekend kind of sucked. I'm not gonna lie. I've definitely put Florida fans higher on my shit list after this weekend. Fuck the Gators.
Yeah, it was a tough one. I know our guy in all kinds of weather, who we had on the show, or jumped on the show, if you will, last week. He has been he's been getting after it on Twitter, man. He's been getting after it, getting after some Gamecocks. I think he added the entire Carolina Slapdick community, if I'm not mistaken. So, along with some others as well. So he went out of his way to talk trash, and the Gators, they got to be right too, because they won the series. But yeah, I understand your frustration, my friend.
Well, my question to you, sort of, I want to steer it back to baseball and sort of, the end of the season, looking forward to next season. What do you think we need to do in order to get this roster to a championship level? Because, I would argue that when all of our players were healthy early on in the first half of the season, I mean, we had about as good of a roster as anybody in the nation. We were playing as well as anybody in the nation, for sure. So I'm wondering if you think Mark Kingston has what it takes to take that next step, because while I do agree he saved his job, and I think he proved that this year that he's a little bit better of a coach than what a lot of people expected. Like, I mean, we haven't been to Omaha in 10 years. Not saying that, Omaha should be the ultimate standard as far as like retaining your job status, but I mean, this is a program that should be a championship caliber program, and not even making it to the final 8 teams and playing for a championship in a decade definitely sucks, so, and it especially doesn't help when you look at the recruiting rankings on a Perfect Game in South Carolina. It really isn't in the top 10 a whole lot. And well, baseball recruiting rankings are a little bit weird because, in baseball, it's not all about, measurables and all of this kind of stuff. You can be an amazing player and be, a really low ranked prospect out of high school. But I'm just wondering what you are looking for in recruiting from the transfer portal and at a high school to get this team to the next step next year and build off of the success.
Well, yeah, Dalton, to the first part of your question, when you said, is Mark Kingston the guy to get this program over the hump back to Omaha? The answer, I don't know. You know what I mean? I don't know. I mean, I said earlier, to be transparent with you, Dalton, Mark Kingston earned his way back in 2024. Is he the long-term answer for South Carolina? Is he going to get them back to what, is he Ray Tanner 2.0? I don't think so. Granted, I don't know there is a Ray Tanner 2.0 out there, but I don't think he's the guy to get the Gamecocks to a national title. Now, could he get him to Omaha? I don't know. I don't know. Potentially, maybe. They were close this year. But, we talked about this in the first hour, man. I mean, to your point, what are they missing? I mean, I think the first thing, you've got to go find a true, legitimate, dominant ace. Like, you got to, man. You're not, in my opinion, going to get to Omaha if you don't have a frontline guy who's an all-conference caliber player. And Will Sanders was nowhere near that this year. I mean, he was just nowhere near that, right? Was 4-4 overall, 5.46 ERA throughout the entire year, but in SEC play, was abysmal. 2-2 with a 6.88 ERA. Just terrible, flat out. So I think you got to find that guy first. And to your point about the recruiting rankings, Mark Kingston has shown he wants to operate and live in the transfer portal. And I think they're going to keep doing that. I think that is going to be his MO. And I don't know if that's sustainable. I don't know if it'll work long term, but I think that's what he wants to do. And so, all we can kind of do is buckle up and see what happens in 2024. And, at some point we'll talk about expectations for 2024 and what he has to do to, again, because it's almost like it feels like he's like on a 1-year contract every year, right? Like, the second things go poorly again, for example, missing the postseason, I think Kingston's gone. And I think folks will want him gone, and I don't think they'll be unjustified in calling for it. But, he earned his way back in 2024, and the goal will be yet again to, at minimum, get to the Supers and give yourself an opportunity to get to Omaha. And I think the next step for the program now is, because you will have good players coming back, you'll pick up quality guys in the portal, you'll have quality freshmen you'll add to your team, and the goal next year will be finding, being consistent throughout the entire year. South Carolina dominated Florida back in late April, right? And when South Carolina was playing their best baseball, they were better than anybody in the country. But the difference was like Florida, they were more consistent, man. Florida was an elite team start to finish. They had their hiccups. They had their silly midweek losses. They had their sweep at South Carolina. But outside of a bad weekend in Columbia and a bad weekend against A&M, they were great the rest of the year. So I think it's just continuing to boost the roster. I think fixing the front line rotation, the front of your rotation, is a must. You can never have too many good sticks. So adding guys around Ethan Petrie and Cole Messina and those guys, and replacing the guys you lose, and you just kind of go from there. But no, Dalton, to your point, I don't know, man. I don't know if Mark Kingston's the long-term answer. I don't know if Kingston's ever going to get Carolina to Omaha. I really just don't know. So, because I think there's some other dominoes to fall, man. Hey, what's the future of Monty Lee? Is Monty Lee going to be back next year? What if he's not? How much confidence do you lose? How much faith do you lose going into next season if Monty Lee is no longer part of the equation? So, a lot of questions to be answered.
Yeah, I agree, man. I just, this weekend I felt like we had, enough talent to beat Florida, and obviously the first game was going incredibly well for us until it wasn't. You can blame it on the umpires. I think the umpires definitely didn't help. They were constantly fucking us over both games. But at the end of the day, when you're in a tied game like that, you have chances with bases loaded, stuff like that. You've got to take advantage of it at the plate, and it just didn't feel like we could take advantage of it this week as far as the hitting. So, what I want to see is I want to see bats added to the lineup. I want to see quality. I want to see quality lineup top to bottom, 1 through 9. Most teams don't have that, but the championship teams do. Just look at LSU. Their 1 through 9 is elite. They don't have 3 players at the bottom of their lineup that are automatic outs basically. So I want to see the lineup get better. Like you said, I want to see the number one in ace in the rotation, because I like our pitching staff, at least the guys we have coming back. Chris Beach, Roman Kimball should be healthy and able to play. It sucks we're not going to have Eli Jerson back, but I think we have enough good players coming back to become the top 10 team again. But, it just depends on what Mark Kingston can do in the portal and on the recruiting trail this offseason. But hopefully he can get it done. If not, I don't know. But I'm not giving up, at least for right now, until, Kingston gives me a reason to give up again. Mm-hmm. So,
yeah. Yeah, I think you make a lot of great points, Dalton. It's all about getting back to Omaha. That's what we all want. So, Great stuff from our friend Dalton. Appreciate him calling in. And trust me, listen, I feel the frustration. It's, going to Omaha and losing and falling short in that way is one thing. But when you're just on the very edge, it's so close you can taste it, man. You can taste it, and you just don't get there. It's tough. It's really tough. And Carolina's left picking up the pieces and just wondering, what went wrong and going from there. And guys, I'll just say this, man, not to be secretive or anything. I mean, I'm not going to speculate, but from what I have heard, the Michael Braswell news is the first of there's going to be some shakeup. There's going to be some movement. There's going to be some things that, shake up the ball club. So you wonder what that looks like. But I do agree, by the way, with Dalton that South Carolina absolutely is going to have a core nucleus of a group returning. That South Carolina should be, the expectation should be high once again, in my opinion. Absolutely. Craig Godwin makes a great point. Florida went 25-5 or something after that sweep. They were really good. I mean, they were really good. Hayden Yu says, all I want is a return to consistency and string together postseason bursts. It's alternated between making and missing for the past few years. Bruin Nation says, Mark Kingston's got a shitty reputation in state amongst high school coaches. Monty does have a good relationship in state, so hopefully that will fix that side. Yeah, no, I hear you. Yeah, I mean, I've heard that too. Austin Gregory said, I never pull for the SEC. I never pull for the SEC out of principle. To me, it's a loser mentality to jump from pulling for your team to pulling for your conference when your team loses out. Austin, I'm not a pull for the SEC guy either. I literally do not give a damn, to be honest with you. I mean, I'm wrapped up in the Gamecocks and stuff like that. I mean, it just, it does nothing for me like when another SEC team. I mean, the only time I'd pull for an SEC team and, beat my chest about it is when they're playing Clemson. That's pretty much it. So like when Tennessee was playing Clemson, obviously in the regionals, we all know, right? Like, hey, go Vols. Like we were literally openly pulling for Tennessee to win that game. Guys, that being said, we're going to jump into one final break here on this Monday as we continue to take your questions, your comments, your calls, and more. You're tuned in to the Daily Crow. Attention all Gamecock seafood lovers. Are you tired of searching for the freshest seafood in town? Look no further than the Carolina Fish Market, your go-to destination for the finest and most flavorful seafood in the Carolinas and beyond. Introducing the new Carolina Seafood Subscription Box, a culinary delight delivered right to your doorstep. Each month, you'll receive a carefully curated selection of fresh local seafood sourced directly from the waters of the Carolinas and beyond. From succulent shrimp to mouth-watering grouper to flounder or tuna and everything in between, their subscription box brings the ocean's bounty straight to your Gamecock kitchen. What sets the Carolina Fish Market apart is their commitment to quality and sustainability. They work closely with local fishermen and women who use responsible fishing practices, ensuring that every bite you take supports both your taste buds and our precious marine ecosystems. They've even won Best Seafood 5 out of the last 8 years. But that's not all. They're offering free shipping to all TSUS listeners on every Carolina Seafood subscription box, making it even easier for you to indulge in the flavors of the coast. Experience the convenience and joy of having fresh seafood delivered right to your door without any of the hassle. Don't miss on this incredible opportunity to elevate your culinary adventures with the Carolina Fish Market's Carolina Seafood Subscription Box. Join the seafood enthusiasts across the nation who are savoring the taste of the Carolinas, one delectable bite at a time, and just in time for Father's Day. Visit their website today at carolinafishmarket.com. That's carolinafishmarket.com and embark on a seafood journey like no other. Freshness, flavor, and convenience await you. Order your Carolina Seafood subscription box now and use the promo code SPURSUP, that's SPURSUP, for $10 off your first purchase. Again, that's promo code SPURSUP, SPURSUP, for $10 off your first purchase. The Carolina Fish Market, where taste meets the ocean.
Muscle Dougie, ho.
All right, guys, we're back here on this Monday, June the 12th, 2023. Final 10 minutes of the show today. In case you missed it, we're ending the show at 2 versus 3 because we had no Mark Rogers on the show today, as Mark is on vacation, and we wish him the best and, of course, look forward to his return next week. But anyways, guys, Q&A Power Hour has been a success, and we'll have all of our normal guests, J.C. Sherbert tomorrow, J.D. Piquel on Wednesday, Mark Ryan on Thursday, and Jake Crane on Friday. And, of course, guys, I'll be jumping on Mark Ryan's show today at 4:40 p.m. Eastern time to talk everything Gamecocks, and I am sure, he being a Florida man, he will do his best to dance all over my grave. So that'll be a lot of fun. That'll be a lot of fun, but either way, should be a good time and a good conversation. So, in the meantime, 843-790-3377. That's 843-790-3377. Austin Gregory says, even though the show ends early, the party continues all day long in the BCC. Austin can attest, and many others as well. The BCC is very, very active. I mean, I love it. I mean, it was something that I incorporated damn near about this time 2 years ago. And, like, I literally can't imagine life without the Big Cock Club Discord now. I cannot imagine life without the BCC now. So, it's awesome, man. Patreon.com/Big Cock Club. The best exclusive Gamecocks community on the internet. Now just $6.99 a month versus $9.99. Really, really good stuff, guys. And, hey, we'll be hanging out in there all off season long. Probably, hey, we'll probably be in there. I haven't told anybody in the Discord this, but we'll probably be in there like watching old games, if you will, and just hanging out and, you know, going to be a good time. So no better way to kill time in the off season than in the Big Cock Club Discord. Also, guys, and then I'll say this because we are now embarking, again, we'll talk more baseball tomorrow with our postseason report card. We'll do our postseason award show, top 5 best moments of the baseball season, if you will. Like, we've still got some things to do. And, I'm sure as the news drops, other players entering the portal, maybe some changes here and there, what have you. Like, there will be some things to touch on. But for the most part, I would say, especially after Wednesday, right at the first half of this week, we have officially closed the book on baseball, and we are now into the college football offseason, recruiting, all that good stuff. As our friend Josh Pate at 24/7 Sports says, there is no offseason, right? Because we keep it rolling. But this is the offseason for college football. And so with that being said, you guys all know that the way that I've operated in the past, there has been a specific content schedule with things such as, our opponent preview series, our position unit preview series, my predictions, of course. We talk SEC Media Days in July and everything in between, right? Because of the way that we are operating the podcast now, okay? Because of the way that we're operating the podcast now with literally daily shows. The podcast is a daily thing now. TDC being a daily thing, of course, as well. It may change up the schedule just a bit because normally, obviously, like we were saving these things for like Monday, Wednesday, Friday in the pod. Whereas like we really don't have to do that anymore. We could just like run through it consecutive. So you guys just stay tuned, roll with the punches. I know you guys are really good at doing that. Last night, I actually started working on the preseason content schedule. Also, the content schedule or the schedule for our season simulation series, which I do believe is going to start. This is a tentative schedule. At some point, I will make a graphic, but I feel pretty confident that these dates are going to work. I may shift them around, but what I'm eyeing right now is a late July, like July 23rd-ish, that Sunday, the start the season simulation series on NCAA Football 14, to start that season simulation series at that point and wrap it up around August 20th or so, a couple of weeks before kickoff. Because I remember last year, guys, I think it was like 3 days before kick, and I'm sitting there like simulating the bowl game. You know what I mean? So we're going to try to wrap that up. We are going to wrap that up a couple of weeks before kickoff, and we're eyeing a middle to late July start for the season simulation series. So, Brewer Nation says, dog days are amongst us, a long 82 days. Do you know, Brewer Nation, how you can kill some time? As Austin Gregory says, BCC holds its weight in gold. It's worth every penny. It's a good time, man. It's a good time. I'm telling you. Maybe an R26 says, tell Mark we traded the loss in baseball for beating the Gators in football this year. That's a good point. Marion, that's a very, very good point. Time for the Gators to deliver on the football field, eh? Austin Gregory, South Carolina decommit. Mike Williams is making his announcement at 5 p.m. Eastern. Austin also says, do you see that we offered a Maryland commit? Their fan base is a meltdown. Yeah, that was hilarious. I appreciate you sending me that. Yeah, that was funny. What is his, let's see. What is his Twitter? Big Mike. And who are the schools now? Who is he? Let's see. Who is he choosing from? Oh, okay. So he's crystal ball to go to Florida. Mike Williams, 6'6", 325, out of Baltimore, Maryland, was once a Gamecock commitment. Looks like it was between Florida and Michigan State. And it appears that Florida will land his services based off the crystal balls. Yeah, John, but I also saw the tweet from Sports Talk on Sunday. I just didn't really understand it. Like, were they trying to be sarcastic? Was it a mess up? I thought it honestly just might be a mess up. I thought it honestly just might be a, they had a scheduled tweet and they scheduled the wrong day or whatever. But that tweet got some action. 20,000 views. I don't know. People did not like it. That's for sure. And John Edward is one of them. Austin Gregory says, thanks for the show, man. Really makes the day go by. It's super informative as always. Hey, Austin, thank you for tuning in, my friend. Appreciate it. Sincerely, thank you. It's a blast. It's a pleasure. It's a blessing that I get to wake up and do this each and every single day. And I love the way that we're operating, the way we're rocking right now on the Daily Crow. I've never felt as confident and as excited as I feel about everything we're doing in business right now, from content to events to merchandise to overall expansion. I mean, I've never felt as excited as I feel right now. I mean, truly, I mean that. So, and it's all because of you guys that we're able to do that. It's all because of you guys we're able to take the action, the swift action we take. Guys, we're working on right now revamping our store in the next 3 weeks or so. I mean, it's going to be a complete overhaul and a relaunch and new merch, if you will, and some pieces you're going to need to. It's going to also be just for the overall user experience. The store as a whole is getting a facelift. There's products right now on our storefront that aren't available. Like, this is every product I've ever uploaded since 2018, right? So the store is getting a complete facelift, really focusing on our top sellers. And also we're focusing just on the customer experience, man. New mailers we're going to have, custom cards that are going to have a thank you letter and my personal signature on it. We're going to include stickers, a sticker in every purchase, right? And also the merchandise as a whole is just going to be upgraded. So I'm really excited, guys. I mean, I've never been as excited as I am right now, especially in the merchandise space. I mean, the things we're doing, again, I'm so thrilled about, and I know you guys will be as well, because again, we are really putting an emphasis on the customer experience and taking care of the customer and making you guys and making everyone repeat customers and making sure folks see the value and feel the love from us, the thank you, if you will, for interacting with us, engaging with us, and buying our merchandise, and hopefully doing so again in the future as well. So really, really exciting stuff, guys, in the pipeline, and appreciate each and every single one of you. Let's see. Panic Ritter, what are you going to do for 2 months with no Panic Ritter? Where are you going to be, my guy? Where are you going to be? You don't have to go anywhere. We just do what we normally do, man. Just navigate our way through the off season. Guys, we've hit 2 o'clock. Hey, appreciate you all tuning in. Thank you all so much. Stay tuned, of course, for all the content, guys. Content bleeding out the eyeballs. And hey, if you have not done so, be sure you hit that subscribe button on YouTube and hit the bell icon so that you get notifications of when we drop new video content, of course, when the show goes live, all that good stuff. And also, guys, go over to iTunes, Spotify, Stitcher, Google Podcasts, wherever you get your podcasts. Hit that subscribe button. Leave us a review. If you could do that, I'd greatly appreciate it. Guys, that being said, we're done here on this Monday. Appreciate you all tuning in. Thank you all so much. Y'all have a great rest of your Monday, and we will talk to you all